Okay, so Ned Mattinia is a software engineer. Um, he says that life is bigger and more beautiful than an image, more fascinating too. The current mainstream view of reality that we see on TV and even in the movies is a world where we must struggle to survive. What if there was a magical component to life right in the edge of our awareness? Yes, what if? Okay, so Ned feels that the world needs to awaken and remember this fact more than anything right now. Spirit is real, no question about that. And knowing this changes everything. Yes, we are still living in this world, but more so not of it. As the wisdom goes, life is really not about scarcity and fearful competition. We're all one, and near death experiences learn this firsthand. Spirit is real, and we can ideally should apply this and live it. And Ned is also, he started multiple groups, and I'm so excited to uh, have him speak for us this evening. So, Ned, the floor is yours.
Hi,
Thank you very much for volunteering to speak for us.
thank you, Tina. I appreciate the intro, and um, we started a little bit late, so I think we're okay. And I think you said, if needed, I can have like an hour and a half. Is that true?
Ned, I have another question for you.
Yeah.
Do you find that in your groups, do you find that some of the members that have actually had a near death experience and not just curious, do you find that they become aware of being able to do mediumship?
Yeah. Like a lot of people who have had NDEs become healers and mediums, even without ever believing in this or asking to. It just opens up their aura and they become sensitive, and they will sometimes receive messages or know bits about the future. And so it is a common after effect for NDErs to become healers and mediums, even if in private.
You found this in your own groups, the groups that you
Yeah,
run?
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. And are there any other questions? I still
I
have.
have a
I have a
question.
question,
Are you going to
Ned.
share your NDE with us?
I Yeah, that's a good question. So I don't have a one that I really remember. However, as an infant, I was told that I had one. Several mediums have told me this, and one of them, she actually told me, so the first time I talked to her, she asked me, she's asked me, have you had one of those um, a near death experience things? And I said, no, not that I remember. And she said, well, your energy looks like it, and it feels as if you have one. And so I relate a lot with NDErs. I don't have a conscious memory. In the future, I might remember something, but it could explain a lot of my childhood, where I felt different than the other children. A lot of children who have NDEs, that it's like they don't relate as much to the children's games and stuff, because their mind is focused on a bigger picture, or they're thinking about um, other things. And I was like that. Oh, right. And
Yeah.
actually,
Wait, can I say something too? Sorry. Hi, Ned.
hi,
um, so I'm a scientist and I do that thing, right? And research. But Ned has collected, I mean, not collected, but like has absorbed so many stories from so many NDEers that he's like a researcher. Like he understands like the consensus of all this and the parallels. And so would you rather have a single case study, or would you rather have a accurate sample size of these case studies? And so he's much more on the population level than he is even on a sample level or an individual level on this experience. So yeah, no, definitely very expert in this area.
because I do have a post over there about my own experience, and it does talk about this. So let me share. And this will also give me a chance to show the NDE group on Facebook.
Ned, if I may say something, I
Yeah.
recently joined your group on Facebook, and through your group, I was able to, with Jeff Reynolds, do my first NDE experience and get that to over 4,000 viewers, which I had never done before. And it's interesting that you mentioned Dr. Peebles and Summer Bacon, because I have had a recent experience with Dr. Peebles coming into my body, and I had so much energy and vibration. And Summer is not doing as much channeling with Dr. Peebles because it's sort of taking a toll on her. I am connected through a person in California who brought me to Dr. Peebles and Summer Bacon. So I thought your talk was very interesting. I find your NDE group on Facebook very, very supportive. People can share their stories there. And I just want to thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Lori. I appreciate that.
So Ned, is it possible? Do you remember any particular stories from the members of your groups?
Yeah, and let me actually share right now the group itself. I'm going to share my screen, and so this is the Facebook Near-Death Experiences group, and it's a public group, and there are about 60,000 members, just about right now. And so, if you're ever curious in joining or reading a post on there, this is it. And I just love the background with the stars there. It's so evocative of what people experience in their NDE with the light. And so here is the experience that I wrote. Let me enlarge the text a little bit. And so I kind of talk about similar to what I've shared. Or this.
Ned, I saw someone on the screen that said that she's part of your group, and she did have a near-death experience. If it went so fast that I didn't catch the name. Did you pick that up?
I don't. Let me see. I don't know.
That would be me.
Kristen Butler is the person.
That would be me.
Thank you,
Oh.
Kristen.
It's Kristen?
Yes.
Oh, hi, Kristen. Yeah,
Yes.
I see you on Facebook a lot.
Hi.
That's
Hi,
so
Ned.
cool.
Hi,
So
Ned.
Kristen, you've had a near-death?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. Maybe
What would you like to know? Okay, so I was suffering from a severe dental infection, and I also I had lacerated my foot on accident on a drinking glass, and I lost a significant amount of blood, and that's when my experience happened. I was sent back though, and by the time I got to the hospital the next morning, all my numbers were kind of like off the charts and going weird, and they didn't really know what was going on. So the great doctors in my area just sent me home. And afterwards, I was kind of in between worlds and didn't know what had really happened. And I had been receiving messages that, to look up near-death experiences, because I had never heard of it before in my life. But through my experience, I was shown that I had actually had prior near-death experiences in my life. And it has opened up a whole new level of understanding for me. And being a part of Ned's group has been such a wonderful experience to be able to share and to relate to other people who have experienced the same thing. Is there any questions? I don't know. Do you want to know anything else?
So did you actually stop breathing?
I did not actually die. No, I did not actually die. I did not have a temporary death experience. I had a near-death experience. And from my understanding, those two are very different things.
Mhm.
I did I did have a life review. I was I actually had a hellish experience at first, where it was not happiness, but then I called out to God that um, He promised never to leave me nor forsake me. And at that moment, I shot straight up and experienced the light. I was overcome with all kinds of knowledge, light, and love. And whenever I came back, at the end of my life review, I was like slammed back into my body. And I know that I have purpose now. Before, I felt like this life was hell and that it didn't have a purpose because I had been abused and been in a lot of pain for most of my life. And my experience showed me that this life is a gift and a gift worth living. And I like to share that with others because it brings people hope.
Kristen, how long ago did this happen to you?
2017.
Okay. And so since then, have you had more clarity about everything or just certain things?
Everything, everything. I'm actually studying psychology right now, and I'm getting straight A's in my courses. Everything just kind of clicks. Things just kind of come to me, and my understanding and knowledge was just blown apart. And I am amazed by it, and I'm loving it all at the same time.
It's wonderful for you to be able to talk about it because it is very important. And the reason
Yeah, I
I
don't know if you could hear how shaky my voice is, but yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about it.
I do know the feeling because I've also had 3 near-death experience, so I understand. And actually, after I wrote my book, it felt so much better to be able to put it out there. So thank you, Kristen.
And how about James? Is there a question?
I have a question.
Yes.
So there were 2 goldfish in a tank, and one goldfish says to the other, "How do you like the water today?" And the other goldfish looks at him confused and says, "What's water?" So my question is, what are we inside of that we have no idea that we're inside of?
That's a good question. And actually, I think in my slideshow, I have that exact image of the fish in the bowl. Yeah, well, what are we inside of? I guess a spirit. We are inside of a bigger reality. And, you think about this one dimension that, that our senses and our body are more attuned to the physical level. But people who open their intuition are more, they can sense other energy levels. And so yeah, I would say that it's inside of spirit. And I'm sure a lot of people have heard of a silver cord, and so it connects our physical body with our soul. And so even that's a good example of something that is invisible to most of us most of the time, but yet it's there, just like the water for a fish. And
Thank you.
yeah, and is there anyone else?
Can I? Oh, sorry, Ned. Can I jump in real quick? From my experience, what it felt like to me, you say, "What is it? What are we in?" It was like when I was slammed back into my body, the energy. I felt like I came through Jello. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's like an energetic Jello. So it's not really clear, but it's not really completely formed. And so I don't know what exactly that would be called, but that is our earth. And it's an energetic vibration that we go through, maybe ascension through the levels up and down. But the best way I could describe it was like jumping in a bowl of Jello. It was crazy from my
Wow.
experience.
Yeah, and that's a good point. A lot of NDEers talk about that. Like, has anyone heard of what's her name? It's actually her birthday. today is her birthday. It's Ellen Dye, and she often is at the IANDS conferences, and she has the NDE R&Rs that are in Virginia Beach. But she talks about in her NDE that was in a car accident. After she came back to Earth, she said it was like molasses. Like compared to the energy over there, it's like you go down here and everything is slow, everything is heavy. It's so cumbersome, and so yeah, that's almost like what you said about the Jello. And is anyone else here from the NDE groups on Facebook? And there's Margaret too. Cool. And I see, because I thought I saw a few names I recognized. Hi, Praneeth. And Donna Schultz. That looks like a familiar name. But hi, Anne. Oh, yeah. And actually, let me look through my slideshow real quick to see what else, because yeah, ultimately, and my intention here is to show something that can help. And so with the mediums, and then I do have a portion on near-death experiences. Let me see this. So let me quickly share. Thanks, Gary. There's screen. So here is near-death experiences. And, based on the group and what we've all learned, it often involves clinical death, but not always. Some people are close. But I just remember the story of Mary Neal, who drowned in a kayaking accident, and how she was her soul. It was going up into the spirit world, and it was all beautiful. And then her body was on the ground, and they were trying to do CPR on it, and she was actually annoyed at them because she's like, like a lot of people, it's much it feels better over there. It's harder here on Earth, and so that's a good example. And the main message from NDEs that even people in the group talk about is that life matters, and that there is a light, there is a God, a higher power that knows us better than we know ourselves. And so, sometimes people, they talk about how there is no God, or we are God, but there is a being, there is an intelligence beyond ours. And I find that amazing because it's someone or something to look up to and to learn from, because when you look around on Earth sometimes, it's not always the most intelligent life, and I'm playing, but let's see here. Actually, there's a beautiful video here. Martha St. Clair, I'm sure some of you have heard of her before. Her NDE was during water skiing. Let's see. This is a cool video.
Ned, one of our members raised his hand, James Van Praag. Not James, yes. James Van Pelt, sorry. James, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I just wanted to say that I really appreciate the initial focus on the difficulty that people have of going beyond materialism. And I found a quote from the 1700s by a guy named Schopenhauer. And he said that materialism is the philosophy of the subject who has not taken into account himself in the philosophy. So I think that was really cool. So I wanted to share that.
Yeah, that is cool.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, and that is, I would say there's a lot of accuracy in that, because when we don't account for our own awareness, our own intelligence and consciousness, that is quite true. And so this is Martha St. Clair and her near-death
Hi, my name is
experience.
Martha St. Clair, and in 1974, I had the most amazing near-death experience, and it's my true pleasure to share it with you today because it totally changed my life, and I feel like it's a story that perhaps will inspire you and certainly lend to have food for thought. So I was a young area, and I was a good swimmer, and I was a good water
Sorry about that. I don't know if anyone else can hear, but I hear like a lot of water or something.
That's the river Styx.
Okay. All right, cool. I think I don't hear it anymore. But did someone say something about the video? Like,
We couldn't see it. We couldn't see the video.
All right, let me try one more time, and if not, you know, I think my computer is kind of maxed out with its CPU, so that's let's see here. Present now. Screen. Then video.
Ned, I have a question.
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned that there are numerous people that you have heard about or know who have had an NDE, and that eventually increase their sensitivity and their gifts that brought back with them from the other side. And some of them have become mediums. Is there any way you can explain how the NDE that you think you may have had made it possible for you to develop into some kind of a medium?
Yeah, that's a good question. Here, let me switch over. I think, you know, if I had it as I did as a kid, it definitely increased my sensitivity, and so and so reflecting on everything, I always tended to know or feel people's intentions or energy, and so, and I guess when you're a kid and you feel how adults are really feeling, I was scared of them sometimes, just because, you know, I was so sensitive, and there's a lot of unhappy people out there. There's a lot of people who are stressed, who are angry, who you know, in traffic, you know, so many people become more aggressive and more, you know, mean, you know, with their internal dialogue. And so as a kid, perhaps I was aware of all this, and so as I started to have readings, and they would tell me that I can do this and that I'm a medium too, you know, I guess it's a process of realizing, oh, I guess a sense which I've always kind of taken for granted and assumed everyone had it, and I'm realizing, oh no, you know, not everyone has this, and so it is something special, and I can use it for healing. And
Ned, when you were Yeah, I'm sorry, Jim. I'll let you know. When you want a kid in an abusive family situation, which is very common for the ears, somehow these experiences seem to sense.
Jack, you're breaking.
James, I think your microphone is, we can hear something. Can you mute?
James, why don't you go ahead? James, can you turn on your microphone?
Or who here has a question?
Okay, well, my question is, did you, as an abused child, did you have any out-of-body experiences? Did you have anything that was abnormal? Not, of course, I don't mean abnormal, but that somehow gave you a connection with beyond our reality?
That's a good question. You know, I wonder if a lot of my childhood, especially early on, could have been blacked out because I don't remember too much. And I know, here's what's interesting. So when I had the readings and they tell me, you know, that I've had to be told over and over again that I was abused, because like, and you find this where people who are abused, they often don't tend to realize it. They're like, that was abuse, that wasn't normal. Because and so I definitely have had, because sorry, I'm all over the place, but I don't have any memories of, like, you know, having an OBE while anything was happening, but I think I blacked out a lot of it, and so if I did have those memories, like, I wonder if I have hypnotherapy or something that those memories could surface.
Well, that's true. That may help.
I would say it was through the near-death experiences and learning all of this that I kind of saved my life, and so I become passionate about spreading the word about NDEs, and so that's why I started the near-death experiences group on Facebook, and I actually have helped out at a lot of the IANDS conferences, and I
could you share some of the help, some examples of how you helped NDEers?
Yeah, so in the near-death experiences Facebook group, I have helped a lot of them who were struggling, and they would message me and kind of seeking people to talk to, and like, am I crazy? What happened? I can't talk to my family about it because they're trying to say it's a religious thing, or, you know, and so I guess a big thing that I help them with is actually also pointing them to IANDS and the conferences, and by providing the Facebook group with about 60,000 members, it's a huge place where NDEers can actually say, oh, someone else can understand. I can talk to someone else, because, you know, they try to tell their family or friends, and they say, I don't want to hear about that, or you're making this up, and so it's a sense of community where they can learn and share. And like Kristen, she said there are people in the group that have testified. Oh yeah, many people in my group have talked about how they have become more intuitive in helping people afterwards, and even helping each other to understand like the after effects, like the oftentimes they will impact electrical gadgets. You know, you probably heard about this, like the watches and things. Like they have to be
Yep.
careful on electronics because it changes their aura or something. You know.
Well, it has
Well,
been my experience that the draw for people to want to attend these NDE meetings is because something inside of them, there's like a memory well hidden recording that they might have had something like that, and many times years later they hear something that triggers them to say, I've had something like that. I just didn't know that's what it was called.
Right.
Lou Aiello had his hand up, and then I think it was someone else. But Lou, go ahead. Lou, put your voice on. Yeah, okay, good.
Lou, I wonder if your microphone is working because we hear like electrical hum.
Lou,
Lou, we can't hear you.
So who else had the hand up?
Lewis, unfortunately, we can't hear you. Let's. Can we? I wonder if I can. Oh no, I can't unmute people.
There's the possibility of him asking a question in the message in the chat on the side.
Yeah, Lewis, are you able to type your question? We can't hear you, unfortunately.
Bethany, is there anything that you can do about the connection with Lou?
Well, what Lou might try is unplugging his headphones and then plugging them back in. Sometimes that resets the headphones because sometimes the headphones get muted. So even though we can't see that his mute is on, if he unplugs his headphones and plugs back in.
Okay, well,
How's that? Is that
that's
better?
good. Yes. Yes.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I'm so glad I can talk because Ned, your talk is very, very helpful for people that have near-death experiences, because a lot of my experiences relate to what you had talked about in your childhood, and a lot of things we don't realize, and even things we don't remember, because the world that you're in, you don't know what reality is, and you don't know what other people think, how they feel, and you may not think it's strange at all. And actually, you don't have to have completely a near-death experience to go through the process. And the only one other thing is, I'd like to say, it's all relative, because near-death experience, medium, it's all there, because I've had experiences when I was a child. I had experience of being born that I didn't want to come into the world, and I was so surprised with that. And because of how the world was then, I couldn't tell anybody about all the things. Now that the world is becoming more open, it's so helpful, because my psychic feels and knows that that's part of the world that's now. But it's so helpful
even tonight, you've given me deeper realization of understanding of sensitivity, and what happens to us opens us up. And even when I wanted to block myself up, I couldn't. Even now, I can't. And it's like seeing things differently and seeing things deeper. And it's ongoing and ongoing and ongoing. And then you feel a lot of love from everybody, even people that are completely different than you. And it's so helpful. And so what you said tonight was very helpful. And see, that's the one thing what we have to do is not conceptually just say, well, it's definitely what the word is NDE stand for. All of it, it relates to each other. So I just wanted to mention that to you and tell you thank you so much. I appreciate.
Thanks, Louis. That means a lot. And, you know, because I pray before I give a talk. And this isn't the first time where I gave a talk and people ask me about my experience. And I'm like, well, I don't really remember one. And it's like, I just want to help. And so I know that there are reasons for things behind the scenes and you know, so I love hearing that. And people make connections with things that we don't expect. And so when I talked about, you know, like the readings I had about the whole thing with Europe, or, you know, it's like we can all relate to situations in our lives where we learn things or experience something different. And so, and how this ties to near-death experiences is that, you know, having to live on Earth with this perspective and knowledge is a little bit confusing sometimes, because dealing with the mundane belief system out there, or you talk to a counselor or a psychiatrist or a friend, you know, it's often human-based thinking that is limited and doesn't take into account the fact that spirit exists. We have our guides. There are reasons behind things. So that's why I shared all this, and I love that it helped you and hopefully other people too.
Ned, I'd just like to share a little bit more. I really enjoyed your presentation on how you were totally an atheist, and then through your research, starting with astrology, and then that led you into the world of spiritualism and mediums. I had a very brief NDE, and that led me to research NDEs on Google. And then I found Tina Angeli's story online, and I found the group here in Connecticut, IANDS, which I'm very, very grateful for everyone here and what they share. And just it's like a succession of research. And then you know, you mentioned the mediumship. I tend to think that NDEs and mediumship go hand in hand. I'm at the very beginning where I can feel spirit, and through your website I was able to share my experience with so many people, which meant a lot to me, because my particular near death experience has provided a purpose in my life. I was died from toxic mold exposure in my home, and I'm trying to make more people aware of that. So through your forum, I was able to share with over 4,000 people. And through your forum, you know, even though you may not have had a near-death experience, what you are doing by bringing this community together, and also bringing the public who may not have had an NDE together, is really, really serving a higher purpose. So thank you so much again.
Thank you, and you're welcome. It means a lot.
Yeah, I joined Ned's group. I don't even know how long ago, maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago, and I was always like very drawn to like math and science, but there's always this like slight repulsion there, that it was like what you're looking for wasn't here. And that feeling was just as strong as the logic that came with like studying math and science. Like it was I had these like two competing realities, and one of them called a little harder than the other. And no, definitely Ned's group, and like over the years reading these excerpts and these personal stories, also having met some people on my own that weren't part of that group but also had NDEs, it's definitely giving a lot more meaning to life than just studying math and science. So no, we as a society, we need to reconnect. It's become more and more detached, and I think that this is the route that we need to go to feel
wholeness.
Yeah,
wholeness and
healing, but to feel where we know we need to be. Like you have that feeling inside of you, you have that hole, and you can only ignore that for so long. And this is coming from someone who's very like much on the math and science end of things, and it is it's a little inkling of like that is you can't ignore it. And like we all know, we really do deep down, we don't belong here. We're kind of like here, but it's like a classroom and that's it. And there's
Okay, I'm sorry, but we're getting close to the last 10 minutes of the meeting, which is reserved for me. So, Annette, if you wouldn't mind summarizing.
Yeah. So in summary, I as a child, I probably had a near-death experiences. I've been told I had one, and it impacted me. So I felt even more like an alien on this earth. As Danielle or Modern Health said that, that all of us, we kind of feel like this isn't really our true home. And so, but for people who have NDEs, it feels like that at times 10 or 100, like it's even more so. And so I was trying to find answers throughout my teenage years. And when the first time I read Life After Life by Raymond Moody, and when I read an account about the person, they died and they went into this light, and it was so powerful and loving and knew everything about them. And for some reason, when I started reading that, I had a memory like, yeah, that sounds familiar. Like that sounds like it was like, oh, everything will be okay. There is a purpose. It's almost like that kind of soul memory. And then, like the whole suicide stuff, it was like, I didn't have to be convinced out of it. It wasn't like a struggle. It was like, oh, yeah, there is more, and there's a reason. And it matters that I tried, that I try to have a life that I try my best at it, and that I live, with kindness and following my heart. And because before then, as an atheist, I thought, it would be nice if that were true, but there's no evidence for that. So it's just, meaningless, and there's no purpose. And that's kind of how I thought. And so as part of the summary, mediums definitely helped, and the message from them, it's so often coincides with what people learn and experience in near-death experiences. And so, and then it led me to creating the Facebook group and helping the experiencers to talk and heal, ask questions and share, and realize, oh, I'm not crazy. You have this too. And to connect people to IANDS. The first IANDS conference I went to was in 2012 in Scottsdale, Arizona. And, it's like a family. And And so I guess my whole point with the spirit is real is that through near-death experiences and mediums, it's like the spirit world and our souls are here, and we want to just remind everyone that yes, let's wake up in the world, like let's live it, or try to, because it's hard on Earth. There's a lot of misunderstandings. Earth is just challenging. Technology is challenging, like when trying to wrestle with your computer and it's not opening a tab or something, but it's just we are trying our best here. So spirit is real, therefore we are here to help to bring heaven to earth and make the most of our time here. That's it.
Thank you, Ned. We will promote your groups on our website. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tina. Well, I guess if that's it, everyone, then I guess we'll end it.
Any more time than that? So, thank you very much, Ned. It was a very interesting approach to our subject, and we'd like to give you a hand.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys. Bye.
Okay. And now the last few minutes, I would like to share with the group that that I'm going to be, my wife and I are moving to New Jersey to be near our grandchildren. And we're in the process of, we bought a house and we're in the process of selling. And so I just want you to know that Tina, Sue, and Bethany will be carrying the ball, but I will still be active as long as we're using the internet for our meetings, because it doesn't matter where I am, and I will still be involved. And so with that, I just want everybody to know that our group will continue. And when we hear from the Yukon Health Center about when the conference room will be available for us again, and if the membership agrees to returning, then we'll start meeting at Yukon, and that will make it easier for new people to join us, because we'll be promoting it through the media, etc. So with that, Tina, do you want to make any closing remarks?
No, I just, we're sorry to see that you're leaving, Jack, but we will be with your legacy. We'll continue on. We'll do the best that we can. And again, I want to thank Ned for presenting this evening.